Monday Mornings with Matt and Kevin. These two will debate real-life issues from a Catholic perspective every Monday at 9 a.m. Eastern. Make the world Catholic again.
It's just so nice to be here. Isn't it just, you wake up on a Monday morning, you feel fresh, you feel rejuvenated, you feel like you're ready to go to work for the rest of the week, right, Matt?
Oh, I don't. No, oh, you're kidding. I thought you were kind of really, I thought you were really
I wake up on a Monday morning and I just want to crawl back to Sunday. No, Mondays are
they call it the
see,
Sunday
Matt, that's exactly
Scaries.
why we do this show on Mondays, so people can wake up, be miserable, have 3 cups of coffee rather than 1, and listen to you and me, talk about whatever it is we talk about, which is pretty random, but we hope people enjoy it. But that's why we're here. We're just talking, guys, before the show, and we were just chit-chatting, which Matt and I usually do right before we come on, and it really struck me that we're talking about Matt's new phone. And it was pretty funny. Matt got a new. Is it the newest iPhone?
I got the iPhone 16. Yes.
And man, Matt is a roller. He's a man rolling.
It's been 6 years, Kev. I suffered 6 long with a battery that doesn't make it to lunchtime.
Fair enough. Okay, and he's got an Apple, so he's not. As we were saying about Matt needing a lobotomy, there's another one of his bad choices.
I got out of anesthesia and I bought an iPhone. You're right. Something's not.
Sounds about right. Sounds about right.
If I went raw, I would have gotten a Galaxy.
Yeah.
I would have went Samsung if I keep me awake.
Yeah, I don't even know what mine is. I think mine's like an off-brand.
That's bad.
It actually works.
That's bad.
Well. It is. Yeah, but it's good. It works.
I still have, if I dig through an old box, stuff somewhere over there, I have my old BlackBerry.
Nice.
Legendary.
That's what we were talking about. Okay, everyone listening to this
sorry, I interrupted this.
Over the age of 30, you got to remember, right, your first phone, because Matt made a really good point. It's like, nowadays you change from an iPhone 12 to a 16. It's kind of like, right. It's okay. Yeah. The camera,
nothing really much. Yeah.
Half a pixel better, and it's got better battery, which actually that is pretty nice. But otherwise, it's kind of like the same. But we would remember the days where you went from flip phone to keyboard phone and then to touchscreen. And that was the day where I was like, you feel like you were like
there's no way.
This is a whole new world. But as we were saying before the show, I used to be able to, I could text so much faster on those flip phones. That was beautiful.
Right, for people who don't know, it just had the number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. People don't have phones in their house either, Kev. You know how you have the corded phone attached to the wall. But, so there's the 3 letters attached to each. Is it 3? Yeah, 3 letters attached to each number. So if you wanted A, you pressed 1 once. If you wanted B, you pressed 1 twice, and you wanted C, you pressed 1 3 times. So you're making your words based on a little bit of muscle memory, but just how many clicks you need per number to get the letter you wanted. And man, you're right. You were good. You were good.
Wow.
When you got good at it, it was a talent.
I remember.
Into a competition.
Man, it was like that feeling of like swishing a basket. When you're shooting hoop, you swish it. You do it in class. You're sitting there with your phone under the desk. Sorry, Mom, I did do this a little bit. Not a lot.
We all did.
If you're listening to this, it wasn't a lot. But I did do it sometimes. And you text, and then you'd send. You're like, okay, well, I hope that was what I think it was. And you look, and it's this perfect message.
I miss the ability to exert your aggression by flipping the phone closed. You would just hear that pop.
Yes.
Like, boom.
I was sick of you. Yeah. That's a good point. Now
have you had the scare of accidentally hitting that internet button on the phone?
Yes.
And then it's like, my mom's going to kill me.
It's so true. That's so true.
I had a Singular. I think it was Singular. And it had a little I don't know what the image even was, but it's maybe a globe. And if you hit that button, you went on the internet, which was a big problem. Tons of fees.
Yeah.
And I remember
you just clicked it, right? You click it once,
right? Because it
$10 or something.
Yeah, $10 to your account. Yeah, and then for every minute, you would get charged like another $2 or whatever. It kept going. You downloaded a ringtone by accident.
Yeah,
I remember thinking that
ringtones were so legit.
I was going to be daring.
That was the biggest deal. You just be able to download. I remember I had one. I had I think it was Yoda laughing. Sorry for those non-Star Wars fans, but I had that for a long time, and I just loved it. Man, You know, it's those things that we appreciated more, right? You know, you remember like these little tiny innovations that were kind of like, wow.
Yeah,
I have a ring.
That was cool.
Did you have a MySpace?
I did have a MySpace.
It had the music and stuff.
And you could go to your page and hear the song.
Cool, man. You know, like MySpace, the actual idea of MySpace that I remember was much cooler than Facebook.
Oh, I agree. At the time, I preferred MySpace.
Yeah,
yes. When I remember getting Facebook, and I was like, "This is boring and blah," and it's just like, "What do I care here about all of this?" MySpace was fun. You could customize your background.
Yeah.
Remember, you can make your own fonts. I think you could change the scope of your layout. You can move. So if you wanted your friends list over here, you could move it. You could change your profile picture to a bigger picture on the. It was more interactive.
All right. Here, see if you remember. What was your? You probably had multiple ones, but what was your song? Do you remember?
Oh, wow. My song.
Mine was A Beautiful Day by U2. A song I still actually.
I might have had a U2. My friend was a huge U2 fan, and I might have just done that to copy it. That's a weird. It might have been. Now that I think, I mean, this is really stretching my memory. It might have been a band called Green Day.
Oh yeah, I know.
Holiday. If I had to guess, I think This Is Our Lives on Holiday. I think
back in the day,
I think that might
That's funny because like
secular music.
I actually I try not to listen to secular music now, but hey, come on, I used to love secular music. I mean, I was a DJ for goodness sake.
I heard all the songs.
I heard all the songs.
You heard all of the songs. So and then I remember even the thought process of like, because people don't know who are on the younger side of it. When you left your house and went out into the world, you didn't talk.
Yeah.
There was no phone on you.
Right.
You were just out there in the open, vulnerable, and with nothing. Now just everybody walks around the stores either on their phones or texting or looking through something. Even, we went out there with nothing on us, not a thing. And so I remember having, it was still a flip phone at the time. Yeah, a flip phone. And I went out for I remember this day. I went out to like a local grocery store or whatever, and I'm like, I'm out here in public and I have a phone on me. Like I can call home and ask, what do I need to pick up here again? Like that concept was
awesome. And you just
insane.
You're just sitting there and you're just like calling all of your friends, like, hey man.
Yeah, I'm not home right now, but yeah, I'm currently in aisle 6 at the local IGA.
Hey Matt, why'd you call me? I'm at the grocery store and I have a phone.
You want to know the phase that I hated? When everyone had a Bluetooth thing in their ear with that little blue light that would flicker, little speaker kind of like microphone thing. I thought that people look corny.
That's true. With
that on.
I have to admit, I sometimes do the Bluetooth.
Not now. You still do?
Yeah, sometimes. Yeah.
And then I remember
it doesn't have the blue thing.
You look so important.
I have I did. Man,
you're sitting in a reshtaurant with a little blue thing in your ear that's beeping a green light. Like this guy's on call.
Right.
This guy's like
there with my wife, just shushing her. Hey,
in case you need an emergency podcast.
You know how it is. Okay,
you're always on call.
Okay, last point. Okay, Matt, do you remember the CD books? You remember this?
I had one, of course.
Nowadays would have no idea. You get
the massive album,
10,000 songs on your phone. Man, we used to have books of CDs. You'd have these. Yeah, they'd zip up, right? You have these little
little sleeves, right?
I don't know, 50 sleeves probably, or maybe more, probably 50. And they're full of all your CDs, and that's what you listen to in the car.
What you listen to. Yeah. We were smarter back then. Like our brain just had all this stuff memorized. You knew where things were. You knew how to get. You couldn't just get. If you wanted one song from one artist, you had to buy the whole album. You had to spend the $15-ish or whatever and get all 20 songs just to hear track 4. Like man,
that's it.
And then iTunes came out and changed that. That was really LimeWire. Yeah, a bit back. I'm gonna download Photoshop for free.
Yeah, so I broke my computer because I was trying to download Green Day, probably something like that.
Right. With a 3-hour download wait.
Exactly.
Right? That's not bad.
Yeah. Oh man, good.
I would to download a song. I would start it at like 11 o'clock at night, and I'll check on it around 1 a.m. Yeah.
Oh man, the kids these days
we were tougher.
They have they have no idea.
Nah.
Well, speaking of going from the inane to the sublime, I suppose we did actually want to talk about something other than. So that was fun. That's like my favorite part of the show when we just kind of riff about.
Who knows what's going to come up, right?
Yeah, exactly. I hope everyone appreciates it. And everyone, you got to let us know. Here's my question for everyone. And I know it's secular music. I know no one probably had Gregorian chant on their MySpace pages. If you did, you can let us know that too. But I want to know what were your guys' MySpace songs? I'd be curious to hear. So we might have had two that were very vaguely similar. U2, Green Day, kind of the same idea, different, but yeah, kind of punk rock ish. I don't know. Is YouTube punk rock? I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, you guys know what I'm saying. Okay. So anyway, as I get sidetracked again, we wanted to talk today a little bit to get Matt's opinion about the SSPX, and everyone knows we talked about them quite a lot. It's kind of one of our pet topics. Matt spent some time in there, so it's just something we talk about a lot. But with the serious injury, I don't even know, is it illness? No one's really said, but Bishop Tissier de Malare is very ill. Somehow it's with something in the hospital that they're not sure he's going to come out of his. Is it a coma? He's unconscious.
Yeah. So they I believe that they stopped the medically induced coma and he hasn't waken up in like 5. So that's the new concern, is like all of that has been pulled back. They're like, okay, basically wake up now, and he's been asleep for 5 days still or so at this point. So that's
not good. Yeah. And again, as we said last time, please, everyone, say a prayer for him. He's a valid bishop and someone who I believe to be, seems to be a good man.
I believe him to be of goodwill. I do.
Yeah, I think I think he holds a wrong position, but definitely someone in need of our prayers. But what we wanted to talk about today is the question of what Matt thinks is going to happen to this group, the SSPX, and what are they going to do? And I think it's real. And I see rumblings, on the internet, people talking about it, but I've never really seen people actually speculate on, like, what are they actually going to do? Are they going to consecrate bishops?
I think
they have a plan.
I think so. The point that I've made frequently and have had brought up to people who are, I guess you can say, quite involved with the society. There are people who have been with that group from the beginning, just laymen, but have been there with the, prior to the 88 consecrations, and have really just dedicated their life to working with the society. But I remember, one of the things that I've told people lately is that the SSPX of today is not the SSPX of Marcel Lefebvre. And I think that cannot be misrepresented in any other way. Like that is just fact. And in my time with them, I found them originally, and their current positions are one of the reasons why I moved away from them, because my time with them originally was doing all of this research and really reading the works of Archbishop Lefebvre. He has these books, I Accuse the Council, an open letter to Catholics. And I thought all of these books and all of these writings were perfectly presentable in an articulate and well-mannered and authentically Catholic way. I was caught on all of these tapes of Dr. Hesse, that Austrian priest who worked with the society a lot, who I was a huge fan of. I used to listen to his lectures and his tapes like a Trump fan would listen to a Trump speeches time and time again. So all of the issues, when I was kind of circulating into this resist harder sort of motion, was like the SSPX hits it perfectly. Like this is exactly where a really true, good traditional Catholic who wants to practice the full faith finds it. It's here. And then as I kind of talked with the people in it and experienced times working through it, there were positions that I would say to myself, just from all my reading and listening and knowledge, like, I don't think this is what Archbishop Lefebvre actually said, or I don't think he taught that or accepted that or believed that. And now it's positions that the society sort of presents itself to be their positions on. And I found this evolution quite alarming to me. And one of the things that I loved about the society was they wanted nothing to do originally with the new rite of ordinations. And you knew that when you were going to the SSPX, you had a valid mass, at least. We can talk, Aquinas talks about the efficacy of schismatics in there. So efficacy, that's another topic, but the validity of it was there. Yes, like they can consecrate the host and the wine into the body and blood of our Lord Jesus Christ. They can provide the sacraments. So that was one thing that I didn't have that doubt of anymore, because I think that that's one of the first things that sort of creep into my mind was, is this man here even a valid priest in the Novus Ordo, or is this man in the FSSP or the Institute of Christ the King even validly ordained, and the SSPX saved me from that. But then you spend time with them and you see, oh, this priest here with the society was ordained in the Novus Ordo and was not conditionally ordained. And I remember thinking, like, well, that's kind of odd. That doesn't really quite add up to what I know Archbishop Lefebvre said, or what his mission was, or all of that.
Well, I mean, that was the biggest thing we know about him, right? And everybody knows that he was excommunicated, at least for a time, because of his consecration of bishops, in order to keep the old rite of ordination, right? At least that's how I understand it. I mean, at least that was certainly part of it,
right? And not only that, but he has writings where he says there's no doubt about it that the rite of consecration here is invalid in the new rite. And so then there was this rift because, like, and I might have brought this up in the show before, Kev, but there was usually the SSPX here, they have like maybe 5 priests housed at their it's a retreat house, so it's a bit larger. And they would have, usually 2 priests hearing confessions while one was saying mass. And there were people who I know who would not go to this priest in this box because he was ordained in the new rite, whereas Father over here, well, he was actually ordained by Lefebvre himself. He's safe.
But I mean, sorry, real quickly, but how I just I just don't understand how could you do that in good faith? I mean, I understand, okay, the extremes, etc. But doesn't that bother you? Doesn't that bother you? Like, okay, at least you know about these priests. What about someone walking in on the street? And doesn't that bother you? Don't you care? There's like, hey,
I remember thinking,
I know there's a priest in there who's following that valid, and okay, that's good enough for me. Don't you care?
I remember, Kev. I remember thinking, standing waiting in line, right, and watching a family with a couple young children walk in and getting in that one line, and thinking to myself, they might get an invalid absolution. Should I tell them? Should I go over there and say anything?
Yeah.
And they don't know. They're coming here. They think they're getting all of these things, and little do they. Wow. So those were the things that would go through my head. And then I remember listening to a talk by Bishop Fillet saying that, I believe his quote was, "We accept like 95-96% of the council. There's just a few things that we don't agree on, but most of the council we accept." And I remember thinking, like, well, wait, wasn't Archbishop Lefebvre? I've played these tapes over and over again on long drives or just at nighttime when I'm at home. Hearing him say, hey, pound the fist, I will never accept the council. I never, ever, ever will accept this council. This council is the usurper council. It is a robber council. It is of the devil. And now here we are saying, like, like, not too bad. And just all of these things continue to kind of stand out to me that were not kind of in line with what the Archbishop originally intended for the Society of St. Pius X. And then I came across, there's a letter from Archbishop William, I keep using the word arch, a letter from Bishop Williamson to Bishop Fillet, in which he accused Bishop Fillet of making the SSPX conciliar. And it is online. It's hard to find, but you've got, I forget where it is now, but it is out there, and it expresses the concerns that I had. So I remember thinking, I agree with Archbishop, I agree with Bishop Williamson. All of his concerns here are my concerns, and he's expressing them to Fillet, and Fillet is really dismissing them. Fillet really seemed to have wanted that reunification with Rome. He wanted that. He was close with Benedict, it seemed, throughout those early, maybe 06, 07 years, which I was still Novus Ordo at the time. But just looking back on that and really thinking, like, the SSPX undoing a lot of the work that Archbishop Lefebvre kind of put in place. All of those things that Archbishop Lefebvre talked about and said and preached on and gave sermons on is not the SSPX of today. It was almost like you might as well go to the Fraternity of St. Peter, because you're almost getting the same thing. There's, what difference is there now? They disagree with, they accept the new rite of ordinations. They accept the new rite of consecrations. They say that, they're answered as to whether or not you can go to the Novus Ordo anymore is kind of depends on who you talked with, which again was not the answer Archbishop Lefebvre gave. He had some very, very, very harsh words towards the new mass. And I was told by several that, like, maybe, like, we don't recommend it. It's not a great rite, but, it kind of does the trick. And there are a few who I think are a bit more, as in any group, maybe there are a few who are more rigid who would say absolutely not, like, that won't even fulfill your obligation. But I think
I've heard, on that point, I've heard that there are SSPX priests who are personally sedevacantists. They don't even say the mass,
which is an absolute joke.
I agree. It's
But
like,
anyway.
I guess that's good, but
You
then
can't
to not publicly do it. Yeah.
correct.
Exactly.
If you're right, because what people forget here, and this is a little bit off topic, but the mass is an act of the church. It's not the priest himself just doing a private mass. That's just him alone as a man. He's acting in persona Christi, so it's an act of Pius XII spoke about this. The mass is an act of the mystical body of Christ. It is the church collectively offering the sacrifice, representation of Calvary. So to have a Society of St. Pius X priest remove the name of Francis from the canon and have a quote unquote non unicum mass is a total disarray act, because your group that you're with professes Francis to be the Pope. And so you're making it an act of the mystical body of Christ, which you believe truly is the Vatican II church. And it's an absolute mess. So I think that is an absolute awful thing to do. But yeah, so you find all these positions that were really non-reconcilable, and then I thought to myself, Bishop Williamson is right; they're becoming fully conciliar, and now recently we've seen them be present. I think there was a popular image going around of an SSPX priest present at a Novus Ordo wedding, and just okay with that, really, like not even raise any objections, fully participate in it. Vitus Wanderer, right? With oil from Easter Thursday. Season, right, on Holy Thursday. So that was so now. I mean, they have full. Who knows where that oil is going around? I mean, what's great about that is they're fully pulling these people into the society. So it's almost like, what is the role of the society even anymore? I mean, they claim to be the real traditional Catholics preserving the true faith, but now more and more they're just putting their arm into the conciliar church. And that, I think, as to the overall question here as to where are they going, I think that they're just fully going to hit a point where Novus Ordo bishops are fine. They're valid and worthy as they believe anyway, and Cardinal Burke is just going to turn his attention to them like he does with the Institute of Christ the King. And I think that's their solution. I don't think what Archbishop Lefebvre did in citing canon law emergency and consecrating 4 men as bishops is not the concern of Follet or anything like at all.
It seems, I think you're right, and I think we've seen evidence of that with Hondor. Yeah, I mean, I think it seems like that's what they want to do, right? They bring in someone who is not, conditionally consecrated as a bishop and have him perform ceremonies. And I don't think he's done any ordinations, but it's still, why not then? I mean, if you're admitting that he is a good bishop who can validly do any of the things a bishop can do, then as you say, Matt, you're I agree with you completely that it's like, well, what do we expect to happen? I mean, of course it's just going to be, that's the plan. And it's, but I guess then, okay, so let's say all the three bishops then, because Williamson's no longer with the SSPX, obviously. So the three, let's say that there are three, right? Fillet, de Malloret, and wait, who's the other
one? Bishop Chassis de Malloret. Oh, Gala. What is it? I can't think of his name. Alfonso Galarreta.
Yeah. And they're all three still alive, right? Anyway, they're all obviously getting old, and so let's say they all die in the next 10 years. That's probably fairly likely. And so then you have no bishops. So then, okay, and then you say, okay, maybe it's Burke, maybe it's someone else. Are you going to have people, are you going to have a 50% of the SSPX people leave, or they just don't? Or do the people who attend like you did? I mean, is it just going to be like
not everybody
if they say it's fine, then it must be fine. But
correct.
They go to SSPX because don't people go there because they don't want to be part of?
Not all of them. No, not all of them. They don't all have that understanding. No, and that was shocking to me, and that has been in really mostly every group that I've kind of been through. Is there are people in the SSPX who are staunch, rigid, quote unquote, traditionalists, if you get the point that I'm making there, who fully reject the council, and they fully reject all of these things. They passionately are well read, studied, and they're trying, and I give them credit for this, they're trying to live fully authentic Catholic lives, which they don't believe is possible in the Vatican II church. So, okay. But then there are other people who they really just searched out the Latin Mass because the Latin Mass is prettier than the Novus Ordo. There's absolutely those people in the pews. who really don't have any. I mean, I talked to a man once, and he really barely knew the name of Archbishop Lefebvre. Where on the other hand, there are people there who just, eat, sleep, and drink everything that Archbishop ever wrote and spoke about. So no, there's absolutely not that not everybody who attends the SSPX or even the Institute of Christ the King fully understands the positions of these groups. They're not studied on it. They just kind of go to the mass because it's near me, it's close by, and I have a nice Latin mass, and this is really beautiful here, and I'm doing my obligation, and that's it. Go ahead.
No, I just think it's interesting. It really makes me think of how we are often called the state of Acontis. We're called, cultish. We're and it's like, okay, and there have been a lot of mistakes done by state of Acontis. That's easily admitted. But I don't know, besides the Feniites, who are not really even state of Acontis, are there any who like almost worship a state of Acontis?
Oh yes. Oh wait,
no,
sorry.
I mean, you have people who really respect Father Cicada, Bishop Sanborn, Bishop Pivrunas, people who really look up to them. But I don't know any who's just like you said, that they'll listen to every video of Bishop Pivrunas, 10 times, everything he's ever written, and he is their basis of faith. I don't think that really exists.
No,
and
correct.
It totally does in the SSPX. I think it's totally true, and it's a very unhealthy thing that it's like,
correct.
Okay, are you Catholics or are you Lefebvrists? And I think that's for some people,
I've
seen a very legitimate question.
They're Lefebvrists, absolutely, without a doubt. Right. I've seen it where they have a portrait the size of a wall of Archbishop Lefebvre, and then there's a tiny wallet-sized photograph of John Paul II next to it. I mean, it kind of just, the representation there speaks volumes as to who is who here. And then a point that I was going to make too is that I think, like, with the society, where was I going with this? I had a point.
I keep interrupting you, man.
No. It wasn't with that either. With the four. Because when Archbishop Lefebvre did those consecrations, he cited canon law emergency, and he said that this is for the good of the church. I need to do this in order to preserve the faith. Mm-hmm. And Archbishop Lefebvre recognized that, whereas the current authority in the SSPX today, they don't. And I think the thing that they misrepresent here is the way the Catholic Church is even structured and run. They view it in a horizontal way of where like-minded people come together. They don't understand it as a perfect society of individuals who are united in this visible society in communion with the Roman Pontiff. Like, they don't view it that way. If you're trad enough and you reject the council enough, and you can come hang out with us, which is why they're getting these recruits, of Bishop Wanderer and whoever else, is because they're looking for like-minded people. And that's not what the church is. The church is a juridical hierarchical structure, right? That people are that there's membership of and in. So they're thinking of the church is brutal. And the way, and I've listened to this, and it's now at this point here, like, it's just heartbreaking, really. But the way they speak of the Vicar of Christ and the way they diminish the papacy is absolutely terrible in my mind. And I've heard it said time and time again by either people who are priests or somewhat involved with the society, or just as laymen. But the Pope, other than speaking ex cathedra, can just spew heresy and blasphemy and give heretical laws and disciplines and governance, just whatever. And it's just your duty to just resist it, unless he's speaking ex cathedra, which Francis has never done. This is what they tell people. And I think that in that certain sense has poisoned the traditional movement, because there's nothing traditional at all about having those views of the Pope. And again, for me, in my experiences, Benedict was a wonderful titan of the faith at the time for me. And seeing Francis come along just absolutely demolished everything. So I think that they're I don't know if they'll reconcile with Rome per se. But I do think that they'll turn to those cardinals, those bishops in the Novus Ordo land that they think are somewhat trad enough to just continue their work for them, like a Schneider or a Strickland or somebody like that, and you're validly ordained. And the problem, one point that I'll make is they had a problem with JP2 and Benedict, because originally they were pretty, and I think Father Cicada has an excellent write-up on this. We provide so much evidence. John Paul II was a validly consecrated bishop. So there was no issue here, because he was the pope, and he could make priests, he could make bishops. There's no issue here. And when Benedict XVI came along, he was consecrated bishop in the Bugnini Rite. And so now they had an issue here. Do we have a vicar of Christ who's not even a valid bishop, and he's consecrating and ordaining bishops and priests around the world? They had to soften their tone on that. And Father Cicada has a whole bunch of snippets and clip outs of newspapers and articles from those days where they prove that they changed their positions to kind of accept now the new rite of ordination because they had to. Because if we as a society are saying that Benedict is not even a true bishop in the church, then any hope of reconciliation is gone. So if they wanted this reunion with Rome to be fully recognized, then they had to compromise. They had to give in. And that's kind of where we stand now, in my opinion.
So in other words, people need to look up Sede Vacantis chapels and go to cmri.org. What is it? RCI. What is their website again?
Roman Catholic Institute. Yeah, I think it's just RCI.org.
I better not misquote. I'll try to remember to attach links. But you can find information on both of those. So there's information everywhere. Just make sure you get it the right places, because you can definitely find some very negative stuff. But the negative stuff is almost always attached to like individuals and stuff. It's like with the CMRI. Oh, well, don't you Schuchart and Archbishop Took, and it's like, well, what about the actual position? Does it make sense or does it not? And they don't typically. Sometimes they'll attack it, but typically not. And speaking of papacy, I do want to shout out a good friend of the show, a channel that if you're not already following it, subscribe to it. You should be. That is Crusader Filmworks. Andrew, good friend of the show. Again, he's been on here a couple times. They produce awesome content. They have music videos. They have inspirational videos. They do all sorts of other things. And they've got one coming out today on the Feast of Our Lady of the Rosary about Lepanto. And it's beautiful. It's awesome. It will pump you up. It's got a combination of sermons from Bishop Dolan, Father Zepeda. There's a couple others. I forget. I think Father Jenkins even. There's a mix of these sermons that Andrew put together with powerful music and imagery. It will absolutely get you on fire for the Catholic Church, for the story of Lepanto, and for Our Lady of the Rosary. So please go check that out. I will truly try to remember to attach it in the description. If not, and if I'm an idiot, which I am, and I forget, go check it out. Crusader Filmworks. It's being published today. So if you're listening to this and it's not out yet, it will come out today. That I know for sure. And I think I even have a link to the video from Andrew. So I'll attach that in the show notes. All awesome video. I've already seen it. I cannot recommend it enough. And I really truly ask everyone, go to that video, subscribe to the channel. It's very, very good content, and share that video everywhere, because that is the type of content we need more of. There's we need all types of stuff. We need hard truths like Matt and I kind of talked about today. But even more importantly, we need to extol the beauties of the Catholic faith, and the history of it, and that's something that my mom does great with the feast day quick dates, and I think that Crusader Filmworks does a really, really good job of showing the beauty of what we have in the Catholic faith. So again, go check that out, Crusader Filmworks, and I forget the name of it. I think it may just be called Lepanto, but it's absolutely beautiful and absolutely worth. I think it's maybe 10 minutes. Definitely worth your time. Matt, we wanted to talk for a few minutes. We're not going to go long on politics, even though we could. There's so much going on. But I thought it was interesting. I wanted to bring that up. I didn't watch the rally in Pennsylvania, but you were bringing up the Ave Maria, which I thought was pretty interesting, especially since Our Lady of the Rosary is today. So what about that?
So I'm not sure what to think about all. Well, I kind of am, but so there was a rally on Saturday. Trump returned to Butler, Pennsylvania, where he was shot, and he had Elon Musk and a whole bunch of other family members and high-profile people with him. And at 6:11 p.m., which I guess was the time that the fireman Corey some Italian
Cambarella,
which I should be able to pronounce, had his life taken, and they paused at that time, and a rendition of very beautifully done of Ave Maria was sung with 80,000 people in the crowd. And first, it was kind of funny because I don't know if you know James White, but he's a very prominent Protestant. No, he's a very prominent Protestant pastor who has been around, I think, since the 80s and has done many high-profile national on televised debates between Catholics and has, defended his sola scriptura Protestant position. And he tweeted last night, like, what is all this? Praying to St. Michael, praying to Mary, like, what is going on in our nation?
Nice.
And horror, he's saying it, right. But at the same time, I can't help but think that, like, man, there's Melania Trump coming out as pro-abortion and Melania Trump saying that we need to protect this pivotal right of women to take the lives of their unborn children. I don't doubt Trump having some sort of quick play Ave Maria to shut up the Catholics. I think that's a possibility because they are, after all, politicians, and it's all they care about in the end. But go ahead.
No, you finish your thought. Sorry.
No, I mean, I guess thinking about it as a whole, like, could there be anything wrong with 80,000? I mean, like, these people don't even probably know what they're even doing or saying when they're singing the Ave Maria. I don't think people even understand that. Like, a Protestant in good conscience would probably never dare say Ave Maria, gratia plena Dominus tecum, but they're doing it because they don't even know what they're doing. Interesting. I think we could have a hope.
Objectively good. I think I agree with you because I think it's purely politics. I don't think Trump has had a miraculous conversion to Catholicism. I hope he has. We should absolutely pray that he does. Everyone needs to remember that. We should pray for Biden and Kamala and Trump and everyone to have a miraculous conversion to Catholicism and to bring this country to God, of course. So I mean, that is something we absolutely want. I don't think that's where we're at. I do think Trump is just being political, as I think Melania coming out as pro-choice is being purely political. It is just trying to soften the whole thing, which they know right now. It's insane, but the biggest topic for the left is abortion, and for some reason, it's also with a lot of undecided voters. So it's disgusting, it's evil, but it is where we're at. So I think that they're playing politics. But as you said, I will absolutely argue it is objectively good when Donald Trump puts out a prayer to St. Michael to his millions of followers that they see, and you have 80,000 people in a stadium singing Ave Maria. That is good. I mean, I just don't. You can argue that Trump doesn't have a good intention for it, and I will certainly not.
I'm inclined to think that,
but it's good. This is a good thing. It's good that these things are being put out in the public, and it's a good thing that they're fighting against abortion, etc.
Right. We can't really know interior intentions. We can't really know ulterior motives or what people are thinking inside with their conscience. We can't really say. But as you said, objectively, we can look at that and say, okay, well, when was the last time in the United States nearly 100,000 people were outside collectively listening to Ave Maria being sung? Probably not in a long time in this country. So I guess hope is one of the theological virtues. We pray when we start the rosary and the three beads to begin. So we can have that hope that there is a conversion in America. And I think a lot of people who are in politics, not all of them, but a lot of them, there are, a good chunk, I do think are well-meaning and who do truly want to serve their country and bring authentic, good moral values back to America. And one quick point to kind of make on all this political thing here, I was doing some reading on John Kennedy and Jacqueline Kennedy, and I was trying to see if he had any statements or positions on abortion back then in the early 1960s, late 50s, when he was still, I think, a senator at the time. And the article that I read, which I think was put out by CatholicVote.com, I think the website was that there's only really one really brief statement on record of Kennedy speaking on abortion and in opposition to it, because at the time the thought really it wasn't really an issue. It was not really a thing to really think about. It was just you are pregnant and there's really no thought to end your pregnancy. I mean, it was a thing and it's always been a thing to do, but like it wasn't an issue at the heart of it. It was just morally naturally wrong. 73. So we're still about 15 years away from that. Just in the same way that so-called gay marriage wasn't a topic. John Kennedy, or they had no positions like him. It wasn't a thing in the moral, natural sense, which people still had a compass of and for. That wouldn't really have been a thing to debate or put out. It was just naturally understood. So politics has evolved a lot. I think I think Elon Musk being at the rally there, speaking at the rally, changing his Twitter profile picture to a MAGA hat. Him and yeah. It's very strange, very, very strange times, because how long, Gav, were we saying how the media is so far left and Facebook and all that? They tilted the election to Biden and they tried to get Clinton in office. And now, like, it couldn't be more obvious that there's a big shift to the so-called right of things. I don't know. But now my political ticker here on what, October 7th, is that I think Donald Trump will probably walk away with this, with a win.
It seems, I mean,
I've kind of changed my tune.
But I told my dad the other day, I was like, boy, I feel like it looks like he should, but man, I thought the same in 2020. I really did. I really thought he was going to win easily. I still think he should have won easily. So I think that the cheating with mail-in voting, etc., I think is going to be more under control. I think.
I agree. I agree.
Who is just on fire to vote for Kamala? You know, no one. So you're going to have women who are on fire to vote for abortion, which is evil and disgusting, and God help us. But no one's like, oh, it's not Obama. You know, it's like, you know, she's just not. They can
no.
She's horrible. No one likes her. So I mean, someone was just saying the other day, and I think it's a really good point, is that, like, you know, even if she had good politics and even if she was charismatic, her voice is enough to lose her the ticket.
Right. She's an unlikable person. I agree.
Yeah. She's just the way she talks, you know, she talks like a really naggy, you know, like just her voice, like the way she actually talks. And it's like, you know, it's insulting. And I don't even want to personally insult her, but it actually matters. Like I don't want to hear her for 4 years, Matt.
I bet Trump is right that Joe Biden can't stand her. I bet that's true. Trump said that. He goes, "I'll let you in a little secret, Joe. He can't stand her." And I bet that's right. Yeah. I feel like, you know, because Biden has been saying lately, Kamala and I, we sing the same song. What I've done, she's done. My record's her record. He's not dumb.
He's bringing her with him. Totally. He's in the deep end, and he's like, nope, you're coming with me.
Imagine if Biden and Trump are actually good friends. Like, but after the debates, you know, they went behind stage, and Joe shook his hand. He was like, "I got you, pal." Maybe.
Well, maybe I think not with Trump, but I think that's how it always was, right? I mean, Bush and Obama.
Oh, absolutely.
Cheney and Obama, you know, I mean, McCain, they're all just buddies.
People used to say, how come way back then the debates were so civil? Because of that very reason. They don't oppose one another.
Yeah.
Like, come on.
Yeah. It's an interesting question. Maybe let's think about this for next week, because we're getting late already. But
sure.
But I think this would be an interesting question. You know, like, if you and I are running for president, if Taylor Marshall continued his great run for presidency, if you were to go backstage with someone like Joe Biden, let's say you and I are on stage with let's say Kamala Harris, because she's the one who's actually running. So, how do you? Obviously, you treat her charitably, right?
Sure.
You know, but do you have any conversation? You know, do you shake her hand? I mean, do you shake her hand because it's the appropriate thing to do, or do you say, hey, you know, I actually don't want to really even acknowledge.
I have no alliance with this.
Let's talk about that next week. I think that's actually a pretty.
Yeah, let's let it sit.
What would be the right way to handle it if you and I, you or I, or I guess we could both do it. We could tag team a debate. We're up on the stage. You know, how would we handle it? Yeah, that's an interesting question. I would like to hear everyone else's opinions on that too, because Matt, we'll go a little deeper into that next week, and let us know, guys, too. We as I've said many times, we like to hear content that you would like us to talk about. Sometimes we like talking about these cultural things like phones and, you know, CD cases
and MySpace,
CD book, MySpace. What's your MySpace song? So let us know if there's anything like that you'd like us to talk about, or anything else, you know, cultural. I don't know, movies. You know, I mean that kind of stuff interests me a lot too. The fall of Disney. I think it's all very fascinating, and well, we'll see. We'll see what we talk about next week. This is my youngest joining the podcast, so I better run. Everyone, if you like the show, like, share, subscribe, comment, all that stuff. Matt, I will see you next.
Sounds good, Kev.
And everyone, don't forget to check out Crusader Filmworks today, because it's the Feast of Our Lady of the Rosary. And pray the Rosary, everybody. Everybody, if you don't pray the Rosary today, then you're wrong.